everyone.
Hi.
Kyra and Todd here, As You Wish Publishing, asyouwishpublishing.com.
You got it.
We are going to talk to you today about partnership and business, and we hope to save some relationships out there as a result of our time together.
Absolutely.
So let's dive in. Hey, write in the comments, just say, hey, I'm in a relationship or I'm looking for a relationship.
I'm in a relationship in business.
In business.
My partner and I have a business together.
Yeah. I'd love to see you. All right. So let's talk first, get right into it. That money, honey, the money, honey. So
when it comes to partnership in business, we're going to be talking about the five big points that we think are really worth addressing when it comes to starting out having a partnership in business, and the kinds of things you're probably going to run into, and kind of some heads up kind of tips to steer clear of the pitfalls and to set yourselves up for success, especially early on.
Perfect. Yep. So when it comes to money, we have one rule in our relationship when it comes to that.
Never talk about money. Don't talk about it. I'm kidding.
Always talk about it. Money is really important. But the one rule is we don't spend $100, more than $100, without talking to each other first.
That's true.
Yep. We just run it by the other person.
It could be more, it could be less. That's just the number we picked, just for our own comfort level. We've spent way more money on things than $100. We spent way less as well, but for the time being, that's our comfort level. You pick your own number, because as a couple, you both have a number, as to when things get comfortable or uncomfortable. Decide what that number is together and how much permission you give yourselves to do that. Yeah,
and we do that outside of business as well, but we qualify all of our purchases. So there is one caveat to that, and that is there's certain expenses that go along with every business that you just have to pay for, and you don't want to have to run it by your partner every time. So you can have a list of expenses you already have, and then you just check off, okay, Todd knows that I have to pay that certain amount of money for marketing every month.
Right.
And we don't go back into it unless at the end of the month, because he does reconciliations. So at the end of the month, if he's like, what is this thing? Then we can talk about it. I'm like, oh, remember that was a part of the thing that we did just last month. We won't keep paying for that or whatever.
Right. And if it's an ongoing expense or recurring expense, that's understood. You don't have to ask permission for that every single month. It's just something you both have an agreement on.
Yeah. So the money thing can get really hairy, especially if there's no money coming in. That can be a little bit scary.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah. So for us, he was working a job until thing kind of balance. I was working a job too. So I was working a part-time job. He was working a job, and we were able to kind of supplement as we were building the business. So if you're in a job, don't get rid of the job until you start making income from your company.
Right.
Otherwise, it may not be a viable option. And if you're supporting both you and your partner, which we do, it's both of us. It's not one person has a job and the other person kind of can make up their mind of how much money they want to make every month. It's not that. It's we both are in it. So if you're in it with your partner, qualifying purchases is a big part.
Yeah. And another point you made about money there is don't, it's going to take time to build up your income streams from your business. It could take several months up into a year, depending on your business, to get money coming in the door regularly. So definitely, obviously, don't give up your day job. That's where that kind of comes from. Don't quit your day job. Well, you don't quit your day job until your business is supplementing your income, and then you can drop one of your job and then rely completely on your income and your business.
Yeah, it's like taking steps. Little baby steps toward what it is that you're wanting to accomplish. Highly recommend having at least 3 months in your savings account of expenses, the bare bones expenses That gives you a little nest egg that you don't touch. And so if for some reason you have a down month, which we used to go through that,
sure,
in our hypnosis clinic, it was like when the snowbirds left, because we live in Phoenix, when they left during the summer, our business would go down during the summer, but then it would kick back up in November, December, January, because people wanted to make life changes for the beginning of the year. So
back in town.
Yeah. So we had to, you have to have a year to just cycle through that experience to know
for sure,
when it's happening. And then when those down periods are, but a 3-month cushion can be really helpful during those times.
As much as you can. I mean, 6 months to a year is even better. 6 months is like a standard practice. Always have 6 months of savings, regardless. In the case of a global pandemic.
Something like that.
Real wrath of God stuff, But no, it's just, I would call it common sense. But, if you're going to be doing a business and you're bootstrapping it, you're grassroots, you don't have investors, you definitely want to have money set aside if you're going to be needing to supplement your income or replacing your income. Have that money saved up so that you can specifically rely upon it as you are taking your business steps.
I really had no idea we had this much money knowledge until we just started talking about it. We might do more videos on money stuff. In the comments, if you think you would like to hear more about money,
let us know.
Say, sure. Show me that money, honey.
Show me the money.
Show me the money, honey. All right, let's move on. You feel complete with that? All right. So the next one is de-escalation. Because when you're in a relationship, it's different than having a coworker, right? Like if you have a coworker, it's like, I see Sally today, and she really made me mad. But then I went home and had dinner and talked to my wife. Well, when your coworker is your wife, you can't get away from her.
True. Yeah. I mean, with the job, often you have, like, I had a nice long commute. For me, commutes are relaxing. That's not the case for everybody, but a commute can kind of get your mindset into having a job, into walking into the job. Then you do the job, and your work is completely separate from your home life. And even if it's a stressful day, you get a commute to kind of mentally transition into being home. And then by the time you're home from that job, you are in home mode, and more so than work mode for the most part.
Yeah, you can leave it at the door.
Yeah. So when you're working with your partner, that's not the case.
In a global pandemic, where neither of you can get out of the house to go work anywhere else.
Yeah. And the implication there is if you're working together from home.
Yeah.
Not all people, not all couples do that. We do. So therefore, home is also the workplace. So it's good. De-escalation means you can start to kind of imagine what the friction might be, especially if you've had a rough day or you've dealt with some other things together in business. And then, 5 o'clock rolls around and now it's time to not talk, just, move on. Yeah. Now, can you guess how often that your mind bleeds over into husband and wife, home time versus work time? Well, guess what? Let me tell you right off the bat, it happens at any hour of the day or night. It could be, especially
if this is your first business and you're just starting it out.
Right.
It is like midnight, 1 a.m. You're trying to hash out a problem. And it's like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Yeah.
So the best thing to do, some good tips to do for de-escalation is really commit to the hours that you're in business for. And when you're not in business, don't talk about business. Mm-hmm. If something comes up or you get a rogue email that comes flying through, you can address the email if you want to get it off your plate. But don't send it until business hours. Yeah. Or do a delay send if you can. I know Outlook offers that feature and probably a lot of others.
Yeah, let's really point that whole thing out because Todd showed me this. It's a send later function.
It's a newer feature as
well. Yeah. And I'm the type of person, I'm like, I'll just get it off my plate. I'll just answer this. But it's 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But what we're doing there is we're training our customers to interrupt something we're going to get into in a moment, which is our sacred time together. And that's not fair to our relationship.
So in other words, if you email a customer at 9 o'clock at night, then you're training your customer that they can email you at 9 o'clock at night and maybe even get a response from you going forward at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So not only what you say, but when you say it trains your people, your customers, coworkers, subordinates, whoever on when they can contact you and how they can treat you.
Yeah. So let's talk about specifically fights. Because Todd and I don't usually
put your mouthpiece in. Keep protect your face.
Jab, jab, punch, punch.
Jab and punch.
Elbows. Always do elbows, man. There's some power in here.
Oh yeah, elbows are great.
But our fights, I think we can annoy each other. We can irritate each other. We can push each other. We can also decide what the other person is thinking.
Mind reading.
I do that with him a lot, and not accurately. And we could want approval from each other, or we could be in fear, and then we take it out on each other, and it could mean yelling from me. He's not a yeller. I'm a yeller. And he uses his intellect to tear down my argument. And he's really good at it too. But once we get into an unresourceful state, which means neither one of us is listening, we have to go to the corners, right? We have to go to
return to your corner.
We have to go to our rooms. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knowing when to stop is important. Knowing when productive communication stops is important.
And that's usually when yelling is happening.
Yelling is obvious for sure. Also, if you find yourself looking for a lot of approval, then you're in fear. If you find yourself, getting judgmental, well, then you're also in fear. It's all fear. If you're trying to control, if you're mind reading, it's really good just to take a few moments for self-assessment to find out where you are and realizing, is this something I can put in an email and address later, tomorrow during business hours? Is this something I need to get out of my system right now? And would I feel better, kind of thing? You got to make those strategic calls on your own in a partnership. For the most part, I'd say try to resolve it at the end of the workday, and then say, hey, do we need to do a little check-in maybe at the end of the workday? What are you feeling? Tell me your truth. Mm-hmm. Here's what I'm feeling. And get it out of your system, and then move on to enjoying your night instead of being like passive aggressive or anything like that.
Yeah, because that's where it bleeds over.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Resentment comes usually in the form of passive aggression.
Yeah. The thing that I love that Todd does is he will resolve most things, but then at night, because he's most productive between midnight and 3 a.m. I would say. Or 11.
No, no. That's when I'm winding down
That's when you're winding down.
My most productive hours are between, like, when my mind is really creative and productive, probably between like anywhere from 2 p.m. to midnight.
Yeah. So around midnight, I've gotten a lot of emails where you wrote them around midnight.
Right. But I don't send them at midnight.
No.
I try to send them the next day. Or schedule them to send later. The next day.
And so I get the email that has either an explanation of what his point of view was. And I think emails are really good in that way, or writing a note to your partner. Because it helps clarify the issue, and then there's less there's less reaction or response from the partner. So you can actually say everything you want to say clearly. And even though that person might be evaluating in their mind or making comebacks in their mind, they at least had to read everything you said.
Right.
And so that way you can get really heard and seen. Yeah. And I think for him, it's been great when I've had a frustrating experience the day before. And by the time I wake up in the morning, I realize it wasn't usually about him anyway. It was about my own fear. So he helps to de-escalate things with writing out his feelings, even if we have gotten to a good place.
Yeah. I don't think we rely on that as much as we did early on. I think that's more of an early on strategy. Now that we have more faculties and tools and resources, we can kind of verbally navigate through those conversations because we are able to practice more responsibility with our feelings and things. Yeah. But, once in a while, absolutely. Yeah. If clarify with email, anything that works, it's, whatever feels like the right thing to do at the time to create de-escalation, freaking do that, do that. If it makes you feel better to write an email late at night, then do it. I've done it. I did it just recently. And it was because I had the clarity that I wanted to have because I was on at that particular time. I didn't want to wait till tomorrow because I had the clarity, even if it was 10 o'clock at night, and I'm usually wide awake at that point. So I wrote the email for her because that was a good thing for our business because I had the clarity, I had the responsibility to really know how we should handle this. So I wrote it down, and I could have saved it for a future discussion, or I could have just taken some notes. But I easily took I just sent the email to her for future date to tomorrow morning. She read it right when she got up. She usually gets up first. And then she had an answer and had all that benefit of the clarity I had at that time. So it wasn't just de-escalation in that sense. It was also, using your resources at the right time. If you're clear, write something down when you're clear.
Yeah.
And then bring it to your partner at the appropriate time, kind of thing. And that time is probably going to be, if you've agreed, 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm working on business stuff and it's late because that's when I'm productive, it's not going to be with customers because we don't serve customers into the wee hours of the morning.
Right.
I'm coming up with business ideas,
right.
or we're working on our own systems, but customers, 9 to 5, that's it. We're not sending emails outside of that window for the most part, which leads us to husband and wife time. Now here's where it gets good. Okay. This is when things really start cooking. Heating up. Things get a little steamy. So husband and wife time, set your hours,
Yes.
9 to 5, we're currently practicing
5 o'clock. We stopped talking about business at 5 o'clock.
Right. Yes.
But we may be working on things even after.
We might be working on other things if she feels the flow to work on something after that, or if I feel something to work on after that. We like we already said, we have different times a day to where we kind of feel like we're really productive. For me, it tends to be later. Not always, but sometimes. And then for her, I think she's more productive earlier in the day.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a 2 to 5 gal. Like I really hit my stride in,
right,
everything or between that time, and then I'll get busy work done in the morning because I don't have to have my full brain online for that.
Right. Yeah, and take inventory about when you are most on fire. And use that strategically for what to work on when in your business. If you need time to wake up in the morning, then maybe it's probably not the best thing to be talking to a customer first thing in the morning. Maybe you might save if you do appointments, maybe push them a little bit later to when you know that you're awake, that you're on fire, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's an example of how you might kind of leverage your strengths, which is the next one.
Yeah. But husband and wife time, we had to create block time in our schedule when we were running our hypnosis clinic, because we would work from 10 in the morning till 10 at night. We did all the marketing, all the business stuff. We did everything. And so it wasn't like we saw clients and then we went home. It was, we saw clients, we had to mop the floor, we had to clean the toilet, we had to, we had to do the marketing, we had to do the networking, we had to do all the other stuff. So
all of it.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I saw my, you would see 8 clients. I would see generally around 6 clients a day, 5 days a week. And then we'd have to keep going. So we would have to squeeze in our husband and wife time, 10 p.m. eating at this really not a great place called Village Inn in Phoenix.
I love Village Inn.
He loves Village Inn. I do not like Village Inn, but I would eat the crap out of it.
I don't think I could eat it now.
I know I couldn't eat it now. No. There's no way. I'd be so sick.
Yeah, that was 40 pounds ago.
Yeah, which by the way, Todd and I, at the beginning of the pandemic, we lost 30 pounds apiece.
Throughout the beginning, until the next 3 to 6 months, we lost that.
Yeah. So there's definitely no way. But husband and wife time is sacred time. And so if you have
and you need to connect during that time, which is just as important as so that you can show up in your business without any unresolved resentments or things like that. You really do need to turn off the business part. And I can say this with more clarity than anyone else, because I've been the biggest offender of talking about things whenever I thought that they needed to come up in my ego's mind. And guess what? They were almost never important to talk about after 5 o'clock, when now I realize that connecting, relaxing, doing those other things for balance was more important. Mm-hmm. Because you need to have the balance. You're a biological being. You're not a computer, so you have to have that balance, or why the hell are we in business?
Yeah, no kidding. It can be simple too. It doesn't mean you go out to an extravagant dinner, because remember, we got to keep that money, honey, in mind. But it can also just be sitting on the couch, watching a show, holding hands. Yeah. That's enough.
That's enough for intimacy for introverts like us sometimes.
Yeah, right. Now, if you're an extrovert and you want to go jump out of a plane with your boo, then that's fine.
Right. And we covered that in our last video. If you want to do that.
Yeah, right. But there's a lot to whatever it is that brings you joy in your coupleship. For us, it can be really simple and
if you're in business,
blissful.
Mm-hmm. If you're in business together, you can obviously use your collaboration skills to come up with a list or a brainstorm of how you can use your downtime, just as well as you could use it for how to create business initiatives,
Yeah. There's also several books out there on, actually there's dating your spouse, dating your partner, little things you can do, especially during a pandemic, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of ideas out there. So don't feel like, well, yeah, but he just wants to do X, Y, Z, or I don't think I can get her to do anything with me or whatever. Don't let that just be the answer. Sit down, have a conversation about how you want to structure your husband and wife time. And if you have kids, I understand now you're splitting that up even more. So it is even more essential. Otherwise, you're going to get off track with what it is that you're wanting to accomplish together. Not to say you would use your husband and wife time to goal set or that kind of thing, but at minimum, you want to connect and be in each other's energy field to just get a sense of what the other person is feeling. Because there's been plenty of times where I've been on the verge of tears and he's like, why haven't you told me that you were in this space? And I'm like, I didn't know. I didn't know until right now.
Yeah. And it usually comes because you haven't been keeping tabs on connecting.
Yes.
Not all the time, but I'd say a lot of the time. Like if you're like she just alluded or implied here that, well, I can't do that because he's just going to want this, or she's just going to want to do that. Well, that type of reaction, not a response, reaction, is usually because you're both drowning. And you haven't spent any time connecting. So you have to connect. You have to make that time a priority without expectation, so that intimacy can come as a result of the connection. And then you've got good things going in your relationship. Then you're starting to feel fulfilled. Then your cup kind of runs over, and then you have the things that he wants and the things that she wants, and things like that. You got a much better chance, because it's not just about trading anymore. It's about connecting. And then once you're connecting, people want to give and receive as a result of feeling connected.
Yeah. Yes. And also too, there's a philosophy that we've lived by since we have owned businesses together, that we really came to with our clinic was that nothing is more important than this. There's nothing that's more important than this. And so if one of us is hurting, both of us are hurting, we've got to find a way through it. And that doesn't mean that, you go into victimhood together, not at all. If you're in that space that you're able to help raise each other up, that's important. But if your business is going under and your relationship is sacrificing, then that business needs to be let go, and you need to find something else to do. That is one of the biggest things I could say.
I love that. Or fix your connections so that you can be successful in the business.
Yeah.
If you're not sure whether or not the business is causing problems, if the business isn't causing the problem outright, then fix the relationship, and let's see whether or not we want to keep the business.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Next, just two more here, guys. Strengths and weaknesses. In the comments, tell me what your strengths are. All your strengths. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, this is a really fun one. Mm-hmm. So as a couple, you're going to have some similar strengths and some opposite strengths. You might have some similar weaknesses. You might have some opposite weaknesses. For her, I know that she is better. She's better with networking. It's not that I can't do it. It's just that I think she's better at it, and she enjoys it more. Yeah. And therefore, we categorize that as a strength. Mm-hmm. I am better at being detail oriented and organized and that kind of thing. Is it my favorite thing to do all the time? No, not necessarily. It's not like my identity, but she can do organization. She can do those things.
Do it. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not good at it. I don't think.
Is it a strength? So separate your roles in your business by what your strengths are and where your joy is, mm-hmm. and then I was going to go into the next one, but I'm not
yet.
So that's my precursor. Now you go ahead.
So it's exactly what he said. So finding out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And then, if you have a partner, like he said, you might have similar strengths because you've connected, you are like each other. Todd and I are like each other. Right. We're both INFJs. We're both earth signs. We're both INFJs, Myers-Briggs. And we have a similar personality type, we have similar values, we have similar personal goals. But underneath all of that, there's also things that help us individually to thrive in different ways. So if you have a partner where his strengths are your weaknesses and your strengths are his weaknesses, then that is a match made in heaven when it comes to business, because I can say to him, hey, I don't know how to structure this, or I don't know how to say this quite right, or I don't feel like this is I don't feel like I'm making sense here. And he can take it with he has copywriting knowledge. He has organizational skills. He has the ability to assimilate and evaluate information. And so I'll go, oh yeah, I can't do that, or I can, it's just not as effective and it takes me a way longer. Right. So know what those are, pinpoint them, write them down right now. 5 things your partner has strengths about that are your weaknesses, and vice versa. Yeah. I promise you're going to get far with that.
I love that. You said a whole lot. And definitely leverage your strengths as best you can, and define your roles in the business by what you each enjoy doing, what you're good at, that kind of thing. And then don't try to reinvent the wheel after that. If you clearly don't like organizing things, and your partner is a whiz at those things, then let your partner handle those things. You know what I mean? And that's just for opposite strengths and weaknesses. If you both have the similar strengths, then leverage the strengths that you do have together to create an even bigger benefit. Case in point, this video. Kyra and I both like to talk. We both like to teach. We both like to kind of coach and consult. And a video like this allows us to provide value to people using those strengths, because she and I can both talk. So that's an example of how you can leverage your strengths together in business. If you both have similar strengths like that. Yeah,
I love it. All right, last one. And this one is stay in your lane. So know your roles.
So you can, know your roles.
Know your roles.
Stay in your lane is a good kind of overall thing to follow, and it's also a wonderful thing to shout when you're really upset. Stay in
your lane.
Someone's coming in your lane. Get the heck out of my lane. So basically, that means once you've defined your roles, stay with them. So that you're not reinventing the wheel.
And I'd say know who has the final decision making ability. I'm the CEO. He's the COO. So, but the reason why I'm that and he's not the CEO, it's not because he's like, well, women need a chance too. It's not like that. It is
glass ceiling. Good on you.
Glass ceiling. Do it. No, it is because he knows that I make decisions that are always going to be right for both of us and our little family of dogs and a lizard. And I'm going to go on my intuition. I'm going to go on my guidance. I'm going to go on creative principles, and I've not led us astray. So that's why I'm in the kind of final decision-making person, but you need to decide on that so that you guys can avoid any conflicts. And as long as you're aligned in your values, no one will ever make a decision you don't feel good about. So he could easily be a final decision maker, ultimate decision maker, just as well as I could be. But I think I need a little bit more control. Maybe. Don't answer that.
I just remember you saying just the other day, about some situation, business or otherwise. You're like, well, Todd makes the decisions in this family, man. And I'm like, how do I reconcile that with what's happening right now?
I think I make the decisions in business, but you make the decisions. You protect our family. That is what you've been. That's what you have done for us.
That's true. I do put up the boundaries so that you're not taken advantage of.
Yes.
And right. Boundaries are a strength for me.
Yes. And it's a little bit harder for me.
So, and I'm a systems guy, so she can create it, and then I can mold and shape it.
Yeah.
That I can do both. I have also created things, and she has come in and added the organization depending on the thing. But it's good to follow those urges and that creativity whenever you have it. But in general, we'll fall into the role of she's creating, I'm organizing and supporting and structuring. And
because those are our strengths.
Those are our strengths. And it is somewhat typical for the woman to be more creative and the man to be more, let me build a house for your creation.
Right. You draw the picture and I'll build it. Yeah.
Right.
And so we do kind of, I guess, subscribe to those roles. And it's really good for us because anytime I try to get over into his lane, it doesn't feel good to me. And when he tries to get into my lane, it doesn't feel good to him.
Right.
So it's like, and then also too,
and it's usually a result of control.
Yeah.
It's usually control that causes that, which is fear.
We have so much work to do on a day-to-day basis. And so if he says something like, hey, can you weigh in on this? Or, hey, sometimes I'll be like, you know what? I can't. That is your role, or the other way around, or you make the decision, or because I have to step away from it because I've already got all these other things on my mind. So now other times he might ask me to weigh in on something and I have the energy for it, and we can just kind of work it out and make sure we're both on the right track. But so there's nothing wrong with asking, but ask, don't tell, ask, don't demand. And be patient with your partner, and know that those strengths, those weaknesses are really good, and the roles and having them well defined is really good too.
Agreed.
Yeah. What else? Is that it?
Oh, I thought there might have been more, but I guess not. I guess not. There wasn't anything major. I had a thought, but it left. Did we go into enough detail, too much detail on these topics, or just enough?
I think enough.
Yeah.
Depending on how you guys feel about it.
Yeah, I guess make your comments,
right,
and tell us what you like. And we can always create more content going in deeper on the things that you do want to hear more about.
Yeah.
So please comment.
Yeah. So just basically we went through that money honey. We went through de-escalation. We went through husband and wife time. We did strengths and weaknesses. And then we did our stay in your lane thing. So, if there's anything you want us to deeper dive on, we're happy to do that. Just put that in the comments. We'll be happy to help out in any way that we can.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the things we wrote down and seeing if there's any closing comments I want to say. But I think we did a pretty good job. Money, de-escalation, husband and wife time, strengths, weaknesses, stay in your lane. Yeah, the theme that I see as I look at those things are, create not so much boundaries, but kind of boundaries. Create roles, create some clarity and organization, and stick to that, because as a couple, you're going to get challenged with whatever you haven't resolved in your relationship, honestly, frankly. So use them as opportunities to resolve those things, or to gain some forward momentum on getting to a further level of maturity and development in your relationship. So you're not just bickering about same old stupid stuff forever, because I guarantee that's going to have an impact on how much you grow as business owners. Yeah. You gotta have some, you can't self-sabotage at the same time. Know that your relationship and your business are completely intertwined and sort of dependent upon each other in terms of health, even though they should be sort of separated for some healthy mental boundaries. You don't want your mind working on your business subconsciously when you're really supposed to be wholly present with your partner doing husband and wife time stuff. Yeah. And so, it goes the other way as well.
Yeah. And so that might mean you have to have a conversation before you get into husband and wife time.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
That's okay. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. So that you can both be kind of freed up mentally.
Yeah.
And you can fully engage in your experience with your partner.
Sticking to the times, 5 p.m., don't stop at 5 p.m. and then hold a bunch of resentment to the next day. Like we said, write an email if you want, but if you really need to talk it out, or if there's tension, do it now. Don't wait. And then once you both feel a sense of relief or a sense of transition, then move on to doing other fun stuff if you want to. It just depends on how you prefer to handle that. But generally, it's not a good idea to not address conflict or to wait on addressing conflict.
No, you'll feel so much better just getting.
Don't go to bed angry.
Yeah, that is definitely the age-old telltale sign of a healthy relationship, is if you can work through it. Reconnect. I get tucked in every night. She
does.
I do. I get tucked in every night, no matter what's gone on in the day, no matter what has happened, no matter what. Yeah. He gives me a kiss and a hug, And sometimes we chat, or, he'll sing me a song or tell me a story.
Once in a while.
Yeah, I'm an only child. I need these kinds of things. And so, and that's a very personal, deep, intimate thing that we do. But it seems like, oh, well, that's not that big a deal. He says good night to you. To me, it is how we kind of truly come together as a couple, and it grounds us in who we really are with each other.
Yeah. Excellently stated. Yeah, it's whatever meaning you have defined for that thing for you. What means one thing to one couple isn't going to mean the same thing necessarily to another, because you have different love languages and things like that.
Right.
And to her, I know it's very meaningful to do that and to do the tucking in, and I think it's sweet and loving as well. So I'm happy to do it. And guess what? It caters to my strengths. I'm really good with routines,
and he's really good at tucking in.
and I'm a great tucker, and sometimes she gets up, goes to the bathroom, or comes in the kitchen, and then I have to get up, because I know that I had to go tuck her back in again, put her to bed, make sure she doesn't get out,
Well, it sounds a little mildly weird, but whatever, works for us.
It's cute. It's meant to be adorable. But, don't be, let yourself have intimacy in whatever ways it comes. Intimacy doesn't necessarily mean sex. It just means connection. And however you connect and feel it in your hearts, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It just matters that it's happening.
Yeah.
So let it be something sweet. Let it, if you want it to be, let it be something like, there was a time when I was cooking breakfast for us all the time, and I'm not doing it now, but I had done it for a long time, and it was a loving act on my part, and she appreciated it, and it got us going, and it got our tummies moving and that kind of thing. And now it happens to be, tucking in, and that's a thing. That's a thing. And it keeps us out of the weeds.
Yeah.
Keeps us out of the weeds, because we know that if something needs to be said, we'll say it before tucking in, I guess. Right.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah. And it's our stopgap.
Right. It adds a sense of completion to the day too, and it's also good for your head just to know that, okay, it's time to stop this, and we'll pick it up tomorrow.
It's like that power in a ritual, that consistency, that kind of thing that really helps. I mean, now I'm at the point where if you don't tug me in, I can't go to sleep.
Yeah. I used to bitch about it snoring, but now I can't live without it. Yeah.
Right.
That age-old thing. Right?
Right. So appreciate each other, love on each other. You deserve it.
You'll have a wellspring of what you can give back through your business if you tend to the needs of your heart in your partnership.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I don't think I could add any more to that.
It takes practice and it takes time,
Yeah.
but it's a worthwhile investment, because that's what life is about. It's not just about lining your pockets.
Yeah. What you put in, you get out.
Live to, what is it? Don't work to live. Don't live to work. Work to live.
Yeah.
Work to live. So the better you can integrate abundance, receiving abundance and relationships into your natural flow of how you want to live your life. It doesn't mean you have to be on a beach somewhere unless you want that prototypical thing, but just let your life be a flow of however you want it to be. If you want it to be super structured, then you can go after that. If you want it to be super fluid, you can go after that as well. But let it be organic, and let it be authentic, and let it be overflowing with the kind of connection you want to have with yourself and you want to have with your partner.
That's right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you join us again, and subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.